the most notorious villain of the 20th century. Even in death, his story is unnerving, for there are still many who question how he really died. Did he commit suicide with a gun, or did he poison himself? Or is there another story? It's a secret he almost carried to his grave. So begins the tale of how a few pieces of skull may finally put to rest one of the most enduring mysteries of the 20th century. How did Adolf Hitler really die? Late April 1945, Adolf Hitler's world and his war were coming to an end. Enemy Russian troops were within Berlin's city limits. Within days, Berlin would fall. In the Reich's secret chancellery bunker, more than 50 feet underground, Adolf Hitler waited. While what happened in those final hours has been hotly debated for decades, most experts believe Hitler was in poor health. His chronic headaches were gone, but he often had trouble standing straight. Hitler's once ice-blue eyes were glazed and bloodshot. At times he drooled. Hitler knew the end was near. Experts believe that on April 29th, Hitler finalized his will. In it, he outlined his own final solution: suicide. Much better, he thought, than being caught and killed by his enemies. In his will, he also insisted his dead body be burned. The following afternoon, Hitler, a purported vegetarian, ate his last meal. Around 3 o'clock, he retired to his chambers. Shortly afterward, Adolf Hitler was dead.
The body was taken up the zigzag staircase to the garden or courtyard of the Reich's chancellery and set fire to.
On May 2nd, when the victorious Russians marched into the chancellery, they stumbled upon a charred corpse buried in a bomb crater. However, part of the cranium was missing. Conflicting eyewitness reports confused the Russians at first. Eventually satisfied that the charred corpse was Hitler's, the Russians took it to a suburb of Berlin where an autopsy was conducted. Certain clues indicated Hitler did himself in with poison. The doctors reported that bits of glass, possibly from a vial, were found in Hitler's mouth. Meanwhile, the English conducted their own private investigation into Hitler's death. In November 1945, they came to a different conclusion. Hitler had shot himself in the mouth. Later, a third report by an American soldier theorized Hitler had both shot and poisoned himself. Still others debated whether the charred remains found in the bomb crater were even Hitler's. To help clarify the confusion, Russia's security director, Lavrenti Beria, launched a top-secret investigation called Operation Myth in early 1946. Russian intelligence agents returned to Berlin and combed through every aspect of Hitler's death and burial sites. The walls, floors, and ceilings of the chancellery bunker, and the bomb hole in the backyard garden. In the crater, the team made a shocking discovery: pieces of a charred skull. In one fragment, a bullet hole. Could these be fragments of Adolf Hitler's skull? If so, he had shot himself, flatly contradicting Russia's earlier autopsy that Hitler had died by poison.
The fact that they'd messed up the first autopsy was very, very embarrassing. And here's an autopsy on who you could say is the most important person of the century, and yet they'd actually messed up the autopsy.
Poker-faced Russian officers stuck to their initial story, insisting Der Führer had poisoned himself, bullet hole notwithstanding. They boxed up pieces of what was believed to be Hitler's skull and quietly tucked them away with documents generated during Operation Myth. The whole bag of tricks was filed as official number 1G23, subtitled Hitler and His Entourage. For nearly 50 years, there sat the reported skull of perhaps the most famous villain of our time. The early 1990s, communism was crumbling in Russia. Amidst the chaos, bits and pieces of the former Soviet Union state records leaked out. Then, in 1993, the director of the Russian State Archives confessed he had a skeleton in his closet, part of Hitler's skull. Viktor Zyagin, a professor from Russia's Federal Center of Medical Forensic Examination, scrutinized the skull fragments. He concluded it was almost certainly Hitler's skull. For one, the condition of the skull fit a man of Hitler's age. What's more, one skull piece had finger impressions in the temple, a good indication of someone who frequently rubbed his temples, someone like Hitler, known to suffer debilitating headaches.
And the skull had a green tinge to it, which he said was common in vegetarians. And of course Hitler was a vegetarian. Now none of this is conclusive, it's all suggestive.
But if it is Hitler's, what can it tell us about how he died? Some experts seem to have found a solution to the enigma of poison versus gunshot. Apparently, it's feasible to have employed both. It's all in the timing.
There's been this whole sort of realm of black scholarship as to whether he shot himself like this, shot himself like this. And what seems to have happened is that he bit on the cyanide pill as he pulled the trigger.
We may never know for sure exactly what happened on April 30th, 1945, but the evidence from this skull provides a good guess as to the final act of one of history's most controversial killers. Fragments of the skull reputed to be that of Adolf Hitler are in the possession of the Russian State Archives in Moscow. The skull pieces are not accessible to the public. Next on History's Lost and Found, the surprising story of the first reclining chair. And later, an Olympic champion, a surfboard, a legend is born. Stay tuned.
A lot of the intrigue comes